Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm coming from an undisclosed location. I won't even tell you what state, but you can probably guess based upon who's sitting here next to me. But today we want to talk about Mil-Surp rifles. I was coming down to Eric's shoot, the big Iraq veteran shoot that they hold every year, big YouTuber shoot. We just finished that up last week, and you guys should be seeing some videos about that hitting the interwebs right about now. But on my way down, I had to divert my course by about 2.5 hours to go pick up a Mil-Surp rifle that I have been looking to put in my collection for quite some time, which then kind of got me thinking, one of the things that Eric and I share a common interest in are the fact that we love collecting Mil-Surp rifles, old military rifles, and we collect them for a number of different reasons, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. But the rifle that I was picking up on my way down was this Rashid, which is a 7.62 by 39 Egyptian-made rifle, which is related to the Hakim rifle, which I'm sure some of you guys have seen some of the videos in the past. I know Eric has done videos on the Ljungman and other guns, the Hakim, that relate to this gun. And this is one of those guns that I absolutely had to have in my collection, and I finally got it. But, Eric, you have a bigger Mil-Surp collection than even I have. That's quite impressive.
Well,
and I wanted to see what drives your interest in Mil-Surp rifles, and I've asked you to pick out 5 rifles that are of interest to you, not maybe the top 5, but the 5 most interesting, and tell me why you picked each one of these rifles and what the interest is in each one.
Well, I've got a selection of rifles here that I've set aside, and Tim and I earlier were talking about different criteria by which a would-be collector could come up with to decide what they want to put in their collection. And first of all, I'll say that Rashid, I've seen a lot of Rashids over the years, and that's probably one of the cleanest ones in the United States. Most of the Rashids that came in are dogs, and some of them are rode hard, put up wet, and so a lot of the imports that we got on them, and there was not a whole lot of them made. That is a cherry Mil-Surp. So collections can kind of go a lot of different ways. You've got some people that are what I like to call pattern collectors, and a pattern collector basically is the kind of guy that will take, all right, well, I want to buy an Enfield, but I want to buy all the different makes, all the different variants. I want to buy one of each year, and you could have 400 Enfield rifles to encompass a collection to show a stage of development over the series and when those rifles were produced. Those are probably your most hardcore collectors. The people have to have literally every single one.
Right.
For instance, P17s. There's some P17s floating around out there with Elmer Keefe's inspection stamp on them. So you might have guys that have every inspection stamp for P17s and makes and serial number ranges, but then they go, I got to find that Elmer Keefe gun. I got to find that Elmer Keefe gun. So there's some people that are really, really hardcore, and then there's guys like me. I'm more of a shooter collector. I like to buy guns that I can shoot and enjoy, and obviously they are an investment. They will go up in value if you make sound decisions. And then when it comes to buying guns that are shooters, obviously you want something you can take out and enjoy and take care of it, and in theory it will go up in value as long as you didn't get too bad on the price.
Right.
So there's a lot of different reasons to get in Mil-Surps. I mean, one is historical reasons. I mean, a lot of guns have historical context to them. I've got a IV8888 over there on the wall that has Turk marks from Gallipoli.
Wow.
So that's interesting history where someone can pick that up, and like that firearm might have actually saw use in that theater of conflict. And then obviously, I mean, right here we've got Springfield trapdoor in 1873, and of course there's mystique that surrounds firearms like this. Guns like these are generally going to sell for a good bit of money, and here in the American market, the thing to consider is that American firearms are always going to demand a higher premium. Okay, so if we're looking at Krags, trapdoors, Springfield 03s, Garands, carbines, M1 carbine, paratroopers, 1911s that are original vintage and everything like that.
And especially if they're tied to a particular conflict, Civil War guns and weapons, edge weapons, they go way up in value.
Yeah.
Trapdoors like this, famous Western frontier firearms that used in many, many battles.
I mean, this gun has an original sling on it.
Wow.
There's some things that kind of drove me to this particular example. I mean, I'm not the kind of guy that's going to go out and buy 10 trapdoors, but I'll have one trapdoor that I like. I mean, the bore's mirror shiny. I like the original patina. One of the things I look for in collectible guns, I want to make sure the stock hasn't been messed around with. I want to make sure, like on the side plate here, there's no swelling of the wood where it's been put in moisture. You can see here there's some nice, gentle patina that has come from just normal service use. All right, everything works on it. It's fully functional. It has original leather sling that's been well kept. This gun has been cared for and used by someone over the years, and the gentleman that I bought it from, it's been in his family for over 50 years.
It's amazing how pliable the leather still is.
I know.
Leather that's that old is typically really dry and brittle.
You can see that buckle. I mean, just how many times it's been beaten and bruised and knocked around. I mean, to me, this gun has genuine history to it that you can see when you hold it. And to me, an historical firearm that you're buying for the historical context, this gun I paid $1,000 for. So right now, Springfield trapdoors are around $1,000. 50 years ago, that might have only been $70.
Right.
So sometimes you get into deals when you find them and you really want to capitalize on that deal. Now, to really drive home the whole point of capitalizing on a killer deal, SKS's. SKS's, the reason I chose this particular one, it's a nice clean Norinco. The condition of this firearm is pretty much indicative of the condition you'd find brand new, imported Norinco SKS's before the Clinton ban. So they were coming in like basically brand new. Now they can still get them in Canada. Those lucky devils. I mean, they can get Tokarevs, they can get Polytech M14s.
They're getting the QBZ95 bullpups.
Yeah. So this one's, see, it doesn't affect Canada, but here, SKS the market has kind of gone dry in the way of brand new produced SKS's like the one you see here. This one's in pretty cherry shape. A gun like this, to someone who's really interested in them, nowadays might be worth $400 to $500, believe it or not, for a Chinese SKS.
When I was a kid, I swear these things were like less than $100. I mean, you could buy like $89 SKS's, and you could get a really nice one brand new for like $129.
Yeah, and that's a great investment. If you went in and you dropped $2,000 on a crate of SKS's, you're now sitting on $8,000.
Right.
Especially if they're in the oil, in the cosmoline, and wrapped and ready to go. Now, the nice thing about SKS's, and one of the charms that I think they really have, is for one, a lot of people call them the poor man's Garand. Okay, it's a semi-automatic rifle that you can feed with stripper clips. It's cheap to shoot reasonably. It does not have a 30-round magazine. It only has a 10-round in-block magazine. Now, there are aftermarket magazines for them, but the nice thing is, say that you don't have a ton of money to spend on shooting. It's easier to just take your time and load a 10-round stripper clip, take your time and shoot 10 rounds, and then reload again. You'll go through a lot less ammo than if you're burning like 30 rounds through an AK left and right.
But getting into obscure variants, there are SKS's out there, I believe it was the D model, that the Chinese imported actually accepted a 30-round magazine.
There's one behind you right there if you want to. Yeah, grab it. Yeah, grab it.
There it is.
It's right there next to Hakeem. Next to the Hakeem.
Right here. Oh,
yeah, right there.
Okay, so there you go. There you go.
There's
That's a real one. And you can tell because of the Monte Carlo style stock, the cut for the magazine well. This, now a lot of people did hack jobs on these and put 30-round magazines in them, and some of them worked, some of them didn't.
Sure.
But they actually did, and this is where you get into wild different variants. And you're going to pay substantially more for this than you will this.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, a good solid D these days can sell for $500-600, and in some cases, depending on the condition, on up to $1,000. Believe it or not. The interesting thing about, not getting off on too much of a tangent, SKS's, I mean, there's even some rare, stamped receiver variants out there. I mean, Ray, the gunsmith up at Moss, owns a stamped SKS.
I've never seen one.
They're rare as hen's teeth. They experimented with it, and they decided it's easier to mill them, more cost-effective to just mill the receivers. But you get a milled receiver, semi-automatic military rifle with, chrome line barrel, that shoots a very popular cartridge that's great for hogs and great for all kind of hunting use, and you can get the guns for a very reasonable amount of money. So look at it from this perspective. If CZ stepped forward and said, we're going to make our own SKS, and we're going to make it all original, just like the original, but we're going to stamp CZ's name on it, this gun would cost $2,000.
Yep.
Easy.
Oh, absolutely. All the machining processes and stuff involved. It's a very complex rifle to make.
It is a complex rifle in the way of manufacturing, and they were mass produced by the Chinese and millions of units, and the Russians.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a really beautiful Russian SKS, and those were commonly available, and those are going up in value.
Yeah.
So I think the moral of the story here is a lot of times, how many times have you? I mean, I'm 47 years old. I always say that, but when I was a kid, I was into Mil-Surp rifles back then. In high school, I was sitting in Shotgun News looking at stuff that was available. FN49s. We're just talking about those.
Yep.
The FN49. Nobody wanted them. Nobody knew what they were. They were 8mm guns for the most part. There are some 30-06 guns and some different calibers that are available, but most of them that were coming in were 8mm. And I thought, boy, that'd be a cool gun because I was a big fan of the FAL.
Yeah.
And I knew it was its predecessor. And I'm like, I'd love to buy one. Man, they were like, what, $180 or something, even less than that, maybe. I don't remember. It's been a long time.
The FN49 was a day late and $1 short.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
It was a great gun, but it was just a few years too late.
Right.
Yeah. But getting on expense, okay, moving down the line, the reason I chose the K31, all right, this is a Swiss K31. Unit replacement costs on these guns back in the 40s was 42 Swiss francs. That's what they cost to produce. In today's money, I want to say that's around 1,200 bucks. Okay. I don't remember. I don't want to like improperly attribute this this claim or whatever. But I read somewhere that some university, as part of like some thesis, did a study on metallurgy. It was like an engineering thesis. Okay, and they were talking about metallurgy and construction of things. And one of the guys decided to write, I guess, a thesis on the K31 and what it would cost to make this gun now. And if you had a company like Winchester or Remington produce this gun, it would be over $4,500 using the same quality of material, craftsmanship, and everything.
Yeah, these things are, I mean, the phrase is overused. It's like a Swiss watch, the perfection of the bolt and the mechanism. I mean, they're just so clean. You take a look at the lines, the machining is flawless. Even the roll marks on them are so sharp and precise. Yeah. Where, like, you take a look at the Rashid, and it looks like somebody just went at it with a hand tool. It's like kind of sort of put the marks in it. I mean, everything about this rifle is precise. You couple the precision of the manufacturing with the caliber, and you have one very accurate Mil-Surp rifle that's commonly available. AIM Surplus is bringing these things in still. I keep seeing them show up.
You know, and the weird thing is we have very good relations with Switzerland. So it's not like, you know, in terms of the importations and everything, that we have a problem getting, you know, brand new GP11 service ammunition from Switzerland, getting new imports. These things are turning up all the time. In Switzerland, these things are insanely popular, but they're common. And it's just crazy to think that, I mean, they're one of the most accurate service rifles in the bolt-action realm there possibly is. Now, some people don't really get too up in arms over the Martini-Henry, I'm looking at this one, I'm talking about this, over the K31, because it's not really as historically significant. It was a rifle of neutrality. You know, Switzerland was neutral during World War II in terms of military intervention, and you know, it was one of those guns that stood silently by and never had to really pick up and fight, and that's why generally they're in excellent shape. The bores are mirror shiny on them. Metal work is normally in perfect shape. Stocks are generally going to be a little bit beaver chewed here near the bottom. That's pretty much from soldiers using them to knock snow off their boots before going in the chow hall and stuff like that. Also, their alpine packs they use to go up and down the mountains, they actually had like this, this large area that they could strap the rifle into, and that's why towards the muzzle end and towards the buttstock end, you'll generally see more water damage and wear, because those are the areas that were exposed from the pack as they were trudging up the mountains and stuff.
That's interesting information.
So, you know, that's why near the end they're kind of nasty, and then near the front. But as long as you can get past the stocks being a little beat up, you will not find a better shooting military rifle. I mean, 3.5 pound two-stage trigger.
I can't stress enough the fact that right now these are commonly available, but in 20 years they won't be so common. Even the Mosin Nagants that we take for granted right now, they're eventually going to dry up.
Yes.
Stores will run out. And that goes for the ammunition that feeds these as well. You know, the ammunition becomes harder and harder to find.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when we were getting Chilean 308 for like $125 a case. You know, I'd just go out with a 1919 with a 308 barrel in it, and I would just burn it. I was just making dirt clods bounce around because the ammo was dirt cheap.
Yep.
Not anymore.
Well, it's like back in the day,
30-06 was cheap. 8mm was cheap.
Exactly.
I remember that 303 Brit was cheap. I remember when 303 Brit was less than $100 a case, man. For old, war surplus they were dumping.
You know, now it's just, now it's collectible.
Exactly. And we used to go out and shoot dirt clods with it.
Yep.
You know,
it's like playing.
Yeah, we were just throwing bullets downrange.
I remember a lot of that 303 ammo was coming in, had like cordite in it, and it would do like, spow!
Right.
It was sizzle pop.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, everything about the Mil-Surp market, I just want to stress to you guys, if you get the urge to buy Mil-Surp, don't wait 10 years to do it. Because if it's available right now, buy the thing if you want it, because I kick myself every day. I kick myself for not buying this Rashid, 15 years ago, because I would have paid a heck of a lot less for it. Like you're saying, there's only 8,000 of these things that were ever made in the world, and I don't even know how many of them actually made it into the U.S. They're that rare, but they were coming in, and they were giving them away.
And out of those, I'm telling you, there's not many in that shape.
Well, that's
I've seen a lot of them. I've probably handled about 50 or 60 of them over the years, and that's the first one I've ever seen that's actually in respectable shape all around. I mean, you might get one every now and then with some decent wood, decent metal, but never one with the whole package. So speaking of the Brits, we were talking about 303.
Yep.
This is a Martini-Henry Mark IV, first grade, long lever. It's chambered in 577 450 boxer. Okay. this is a very historical gun for a lot of many reasons. I mean, when people see a Martini-Henry, they think of British imperialism and military might and everything and all the battles they were involved in. But a lot of people don't really know about the cash that came in from Nepal. They brought in a whole bunch of Martini-Henrys. They bought out this whole palace in Nepal. And they were throwing these things out of windows, packing them into trucks. I don't remember the exact number, but they brought over some obscene amount in pounds, like they weigh, the total weight of the cash. I mean, they brought over cannons, everything from Stens, Browning high powers, Martini-Henrys, varieties of other small arms, Gatling guns, rare and obscure Byra guns, of which only maybe 13 or 14 were produced. So a veritable treasure trove of militaria came in from Nepal. Here in Atlanta, or in Conyers, Georgia, we've got Atlanta Cutlery. And they have a ton of these guns just stacked like cordwood on pallets. So
go over there.
A lot of folks may or may not recall or may have read about Bannerman's. And back in the old days, there was a place called Bannerman's. It was basically just this island, okay? And this guy just bought the island and decided, well, I'm going to sell military stuff. And he went around and bought, all the old cannons and war implements and ammunition nobody wanted, and basically had a humongous salvage/surplus store. Since Bannerman's has long been closed, obviously. I mean, we're talking back around the turn of the century when the place was still around. But since Bannerman's has been closed, there's never really been a place where you can just go and bam, there it is. You can just pick through thousands of antique military firearms that are in the exact same condition they were picked up from where they were found.
Right.
And as far as I know, Atlanta Cutlery is the only place in the United States that you're going to be able to walk in and physically scrape the dirt from Nepal off with your hands and pick these rifles out. This is a gun that I'm investing heavily in right now because they're only going to go up in value. Now, at the time this video is being made, we're talking a gun that you need to go buy. Even if you don't have any intentions of shooting them, they're just a wonderful value. They're full of history. They are fun to shoot if you decide you want to go that route.
But the ammunition, how do you get the ammunition for this thing?
You got to roll your own.
Right.
You pretty much have to roll your own. It is a little bit of a laborious process. We've got a pretty involved video on reloading 5.77-450 that's actually pretty dang involved and shows everything you need to do it. 10X Ammunition and Buffalo Arms sell ammunition for this gun, but you're talking probably $90 for 20.
Yeah.
So it's not a cheap shooter. This isn't really in the shooter category. I tried to get guns here that encompass a little bit of the above. So this is more of your like modern collectible that you can, or a collectible that in this world you can buy and it's a great value.
Right.
You got your good shooter category. You got your, hey, I wish I would have bought it when it was cheap category. You got the, hey, back in the day this thing was really cheap and now they're grand plus. So moving on, you get into the Ljungman. And this is sort of the grandfather of your Rashid there, okay? So the Ljungman came around pretty much, this particular gun was, designed in Sweden, all right? And it's a pretty awesome firearm. One of the first direct gas impingement guns that there is. Check that out. I know you've got one.
I know. This is one of my favorite rifles because I love the history of direct gas impingement. A lot of people, we've had this conversation before, a lot of people think that Eugene Stoner invented the method of operation. He didn't. He refined it. What he did was unique. The gas on these and the Hakim and the Rashid acts directly upon the bolt carrier, just pushes it backwards. Eugene Stoner did things a little bit differently, but the reason I'm so fascinated with these is because it's just one of those engineering things where people were looking for ways to do things differently to make military rifles more reliable and more simple. And when you talk about simplicity of gas systems, it doesn't get any simpler than this. Now the Hakim, the Egyptians went a step further, even with the Rashid, and they put an adjustable gas block on it. This thing directs gas just like the M16. It's non-adjustable, just throws gas straight out of the bore, right back into the bolt face. Stupid simple, minimal parts. Fewer parts, fewer things to fail, and that's, I'm sure, what they were thinking when they designed it. But it didn't last long. It was a very quick development cycle on this rifle. It was developed and fielded in 1941, went on for a few years, and then the Egyptians bought the tooling and the rights to it, and that's where we get the Hakim. They made a few changes. I mean, this is an AG-42B. I can tell from the ears on it. The Hakim has the original serrations on it. But the history of this gun is just so cool. And that's why I have one. I know why you have one. And I love now that I have the Rashid because I can trace the evolution, the lineage of this design, and this is the grandfather.
Exactly.
That started it all. for all those different rifle variants. As far as direct gas impingement goes, there's a conversation we should have, because I still think the French did it first.
Well, yeah, and which gun was that they?
Well, here's what's cool. Okay, so this came about in the early 1940s. 1940, 1941, it went into production. Had a 1-year development cycle. They were quickly trying to get the gun into the field, right? So the French in 1938 were working on what we would now know as the MES-49. They called it the MES-38. In 1938, they had a direct gas impingement rifle that looks just like the MES-49. It was much longer. It didn't have all the grenade launching attachments and stuff. They had the 38, the 40, the 44, and then the 49, which
so
is
it's
what
kind of like gradual revision. I've got a 49 over there if you want to grab it. Grab that 49 for us real quick. It's over there in the corner. All the way in the corner. See the mag sticking out of the bottom?
Okay, yeah,
there you go.
There we go.
Bring that over here.
So this rifle served the French military, probably still is in service, 30 years. I mean, people laugh at French military rifles. They're quite innovative, and this rifle is one of the early direct gas impingement guns. If you take this all the way back to 1938 when this development started, I think it was probably one of the first. Yeah, and they just put this on hold because everybody wanted a semi-automatic rifle during the Second World War, but they couldn't do it because they couldn't commit the man-hours to producing a semi-automatic when they already had the bolt action, and people were just trying to get guns in the field to the soldiers' hands because World War II was brutal.
I've had this gun a while, and I didn't even know that about it. And when you said 49, I was like, wait a minute, I got a MAS 49.
Yeah, this is a beauty.
Well, the reason I chose this gun in the lineup, I'll quickly elaborate on that. Thanks. The reason that I chose this particular gun is because some people want an auto-loading gun to add to the military surplus collection. Okay, say you don't want an SKS. You're past that. You might have 3 or 4 SKSs, and you're like, I want something full, battle cartridge type thing, like a Garand or whatever. Some people can't afford to buy a $1,200, $1,400, $1,500 Garand. Some people can't afford the prices that M1 carbines are bringing nowadays. Right. Now, awesome guns, in that light, but the thing about maybe not the Rashid so much, but the Hakims, the Ljungmans, the MAS 49s, there are a lot of full, battle rifle, cartridge guns that fire, full-size battle cartridge that can be had for way less than $1,000, but just people don't know about them. So like on the Ljungman, I paid $700 for this gun, and it shoots circles around $1,000. Yeah. But people go, oh, well, what's that? Just because they don't know what it is and it's obscure, they decide, oh, well, I'm going to opt for the Garand because it's more common, I know more about it has more historical significance. So the reason I chose this gun is don't be afraid to buy something weird. Right. Because you'll get a great gun for a fair amount of money, and you'll end up getting something that will go up in value. This just scores more rare than a Garand, and it costs less.
Yep. That thing in 50 years is going to be tremendously collectible.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Mondragons. I mean, a long time ago when the Mondragons, and that's another odd Swiss-made gun that was made for the Mexican military, but the Mondragon, I don't have one because it'd be worth 20 grand if I did. I mean, they're very expensive now, but when those first hit the surplus market, no one knew what they were and no one cared, and some of the early collectors snatch, bought them up, and now Mondragons are $25,000, $30,000. Right. They're just very obscure firearms. So sometimes, don't be afraid to buy something odd. If you go to a gun show and you see a Mil-Surp that's in really nice shape, looks like everything's good, the bore is nice, research it a little bit. I mean, hop on your phone and research it right there. Look it up. Look up the price. See what they're asking. Because sometimes, I mean, I killed myself at the last antique arms show we went to in Vegas. There was a Swedish M40 Lottie pistol sitting on there, full rig, had the freaking holster, extra magazines, and it was a cherry gun. Okay, and I asked the guy, I was like, how much you want for it? He's like, well, I'll take $800 cash. Well, I had the money, and I thought, $800 seems like a lot of money. Went back and researched it later. They're $2+ grand. Yeah, right? So really, $800 was not a lot of money, and I should have left with that Lottie pistol.
Had you gotten on your phone.
Hindsight being 2020, let you guys learn from my mistakes. Never be afraid to stand there right in front of the dealer and just look it up. And if he asks you what you're doing, just say, well, I'm not really sure about this, and I like it, it's cool, but I'm just trying to research it a little bit. Just be honest. Tell them you're researching it. I mean,
and when new stuff comes to market, guys, when we first started seeing the Mosin Nagants come in, they're the real popular item right now. Don't take them for granted. because they won't last forever. Buy them now, get them cheap, sit on them. They become investments, but they're also great shooters. You know, Mil-Surp is a great way to go. It's a great way to get a collection of firearms with spending very little money if you catch them when they're first coming in, and then just sit on them, and they become great investments. They become the pieces that hopefully if your children are interested in firearms that they'll keep and maintain, and they'll just pass down hands to hands. But if not, you know, when I pass away, you know, hopefully you'll help my wife or somebody that knows what they're doing to sell these things so she doesn't get taken to, get run through the ringer on the prices. But I mean, they're great investments, and they're every bit as good as the stock market these days in many cases.
In many cases, and a lot of folks, I mean, not to get off on that tangent for long, but a lot of folks are looking for alternative ways to invest their money. I mean, a lot of people are buying, you know, bullion and gold and silver and other like solid tangibles they can put their hands on. Firearms are in their own right a great investment. There are specialized insurance companies out there that will insure your firearms collection, and a specific rider insurance policy is made just for firearms, and it would behoove you to definitely get an insurance policy on your guns. I mean, even if you only own 5 guns, it's good to have something past just your normal, you know, homeowner's insurance. And Mil-Surps are fun. My thing about military guns, what I've gone, I'm kind of, I guess, what would be considered a medium to advanced level collector. But from my standpoint, I like hunting with them. Like I keep telling myself, I can't wait to just smoke a deer with this Martini-Henry. I just want to see that huge slug of lead, that 480 grain 45 caliber slug, just smack Bambi right through the lungs. I don't know why. I just want to see. I want to kill some deer with some Mil-Surp.
And here's something that you would do, and only you would do, is take one of these, put a pick rail on it, put an Armacite thermal predator up there, and so you have something that's a classic with ultra modern technology, and go varmint hunting with it, and knock a pig over.
There's some guns that I wouldn't mess with.
Yeah,
you know, Martini-Henry is a classic, and I wouldn't mess with that. I do have a sported K31 that, to call it a sporter, might be a little bit of a shame, because I mean, it's right here. This is one that we did here, and I mean, you're talking, you know, it's got the rock solid industry scope mount on it. It's got a Zeiss Conquest 3-9. It's been fully glass bedded. It's got you know, recoil bedding pillars in the stock. The barrel's been free floated. It's a custom made stock from Bluegrass Gun Stocks. And this gun will shoot a 3.5-inch group at 500 yards.
Wow.
If Chad's behind it.
If Chad's behind it.
But yeah, I mean, something like this, if it's a tastefully done sporter and it, you know, looks decent and it's done right, yeah, this gun will shoot living daylights out.
Yeah.
Now,
and then in 100 years, somebody will look at that and go, I can't believe somebody did that to a K3.
Probably.
You're back when 1903s were dirt cheap, and all those old Mausers and stuff, people were cutting up because they could buy the guns for $50, and they were, you know, sporterizing them. They cut up some highly collectible firearms.
Krags.
Yep.
I mean, there are so many sporterized Krags out there, and it's a shame, because back in the day, you know, they were dirt cheap, and they couldn't give them away. And it's unfortunate, but there are a lot of sported guns out there that one day, I'm sure the Mil-Surp gods are frowning upon me for that. But the stock, to be fair, I bought the gun, the stock was already cut on it. So I bought it as a sporter. I turned it into something better. So if you improve an existing sporter, okay, it's only a marginal sin, not a total sin. If you take one that's cherry, like if I took this Ljungman and decided, I'm going to cut it down, make me a sporter out of it, that would probably be a dumb thing to do, but anyway.
Well, Eric, I really appreciate you showing us some of your collection and talking about and sharing some of your vast knowledge on military surplus rifles. It's been a real treat to come down, as always, and check out some of your stuff and play with stuff. I didn't even know you had that SKS-D. That's killing me, man. That's killing me. That's the one I don't have in my collection. So
they're neat.
Guess what I'm going to go do when I get home? I'm going to go get on Gunbroker, and I'm going to start looking for SKS-Ds.
Well, yeah, I think I'm going to get on Gunbroker and find me a Argentine contract FN49.
I know you've been talking about that.
Yeah, they're neat guns. And there's just certain guns that kind of fill the void, and I don't want this video to drag on, but one thing I will say is that it is addicting. When you get one Mil-Surp, you're going to go, okay, I need this one, and before you know it, you've got 15 of them, and then you're going, you're trying to plan your 15, you know, your next 15 that you're going to get. So before you know it, you got 30 guns laying around, and you're like, how did I do this? It's very addicting. So I will warn you on that.
Absolutely it is. Well, guys, if you have any questions, of course, you can swing by our Facebook page. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/military arms. Also, if you'd like to support the Military Arms channel and support our ability to buy things like this to enhance the collection, it'd be great if you'd swing by and check out Copper Custom. It's our online gun store. You can find stuff there, great products at great prices. And again, that's the best way to support the Military Arms channel. Then you can also find both both of us on Full 30, which is full30.com, so we can buy and check it out. Thanks again for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you guys soon.